From A&E, this is Biography. For April 3rd, 2000, this is Biography with Harry Smith.
He's one of the funniest and most enduring faces on television. For some 40 years, Don Knotts has been a constant presence on the small screen. But the jokes never seem to grow old. Two of Knotts' most famous TV creations, Barney Fife and Ralph Furley, share something in common. They're hilarious without meaning to be. Full of false bravado, they're unaware of how funny they are to the rest of us. The exact opposite is true of Don Knotts. For more than 40 years, he's known precisely how to deliver the laughs. Andy Griffith described working with him in the foreword to Barney Fife and Other Characters I Have Known, Don's recent memoir. He writes, "I could look at him before we started those scenes, and through his eyes, I could see him become Barney Fife," to which he adds, "I am certain I will never again have an experience as joyful and fulfilling."
And what is your name, please?
My name is Errol Flynn.
He's the perennial underdog with the frail physique.
Let me ask you, are you nervous? Good.
Who is beloved the world over as the high-strung Barney Fife.
Don is a very bright man.
When the old steel trap in here has made up its mind, there's no turning back.
And he is no more Barney Fife than I am. Don is basically a very quiet man.
He could play somebody who could be completely irrational. And it was so much fun to see him get in trouble.
He's a boxer. He knows karate. His hands are lethal weapons. So you don't want to mess with him. It's a side that Don doesn't want to talk about.
For somebody who's interested in being a comic actor, Don's pretty much up there on Mount Rushmore. And he's a wonderful lover.
But for Don Knotts, the laughter on camera masked a desperate need to escape a painful childhood and numerous personal tragedies in order to become one of Hollywood's most gifted comedians.
The drive, the ambition that he had to make it out of that small town to where he is today is incredible.
He never forgot that past that he came from. He's gentle, extremely modest. What's not to like?
West Virginia in the early 1920s was a bleak, economically depressed area, and for the residents of rural Morgantown, every day was an effort just to survive. Eloise and William Knotts had already been married nearly 25 years when the 40-year-old mother of 3 grown sons unexpectedly became pregnant. William, a struggling farmer and part-time coal miner, couldn't bear the weight of an extra mouth to feed and suffered a nervous breakdown shortly before the birth of Jesse Donald Knotts on July 21st, 1924.
My father was an unplanned baby, but I know my grandmother was thrilled. My grandfather had some mental problems, and he wasn't able to work on the farm anymore. And progressively, he became worse, and it got to the point where he was actually bedridden.
With her husband incapacitated, Eloise took control and moved her family off the farm into a low-rent house in the heart of Morgantown.
She was a very strong person. She was a survivor. She took in laundry. She took in boarders. She did anything she could to make ends meet. But she never lost her sense of humor. She was always there for them.
But Eloise could not protect little Donald from the terror inflicted by his father's deteriorating mental health.
My grandfather was a paranoid schizophrenic, but he would occasionally get out of bed and become quite frightening to people, terrorizing people. He would actually come after my dad with a knife a couple of times.
Don's 24-year-old brother Sid was frequently out carousing, so the frail youngster looked to his middle brother, 17-year-old Shadow, for comfort.
Shadow had a tremendous sense of humor, and he loved to play practical jokes. And I think Shadow was terribly important to Don because Don's father was ill and could not be a father. And I think Shadow sort of took his place.
To ease the tension at home, Donald's mother took him to the local movie theater, where he escaped into a world of fantasy. He also whiled away hours listening to his favorite radio stars, Jack Benny and ventriloquist Edgar Bergen.
He had written to somebody about getting a little gimmick that you put in your mouth that was supposed to make you a ventriloquist. And there was a little dummy in the store down the street, and he bought that for 50 cents.
Shy and lonely, the youngster spent much of his free time learning the tricks of ventriloquism. Despite the confidence he gained from his new hobby, Don remained anxious and grew painfully thin.
When he was young, because he was so skinny, everybody told him that he was sickly, and he heard that. And so he grew up believing that he was frail health.
But the adolescent's life dramatically changed when William Knotts suddenly died of pneumonia in 1937. And the pall that had hung over Donald for years slowly began to fade.
When my grandfather passed away, fear was gone. So he was able to be himself and to really come out, and his personality just exploded.
Before long, Don was dreaming about becoming a professional entertainer.
Don would get up and give his little act in front of his mother, and she would laugh and nod her head with approval, and then he felt secure. And he needed that encouragement and that reassurance, and he got it from his mother. He really did.
By the time he entered Morgantown High School, the timid teen had developed a more self-assured and outgoing personality.
He got into high school and became the class clown, and he was like voted the most popular boy in school, and he had a lot of dates, and he just had a blast.
But Don's good times came to a crashing halt when, in 1942, his beloved brother Shadow lost his battle with chronic asthma.
He never expounded too much on sadness, but I could feel his hurt. He concealed it, but he suffered as a result of the loss of Shadow.
Throughout his senior year, Don found solace in his ability to make people laugh, and he was a standout in numerous school performances. Emboldened by his small-town success, the 18-year-old left home for the bright lights of Manhattan. But at his first audition, Knotts received a rude awakening.
He was told by a casting director, you know, you're not going to make it out here. I mean, he got a real put down. And at that point, he kind of tucked his tail between his legs and came back home. And he was already feeling totally humiliated because, well, he was the star of the high school, just the popular kid, and had made this grand farewell, I'm going off to the big city. Came back only maybe a few months later and had to get a job plucking chickens in the grocery store. That was a devastating experience.
By 1943, World War II was raging overseas. Don was unexpectedly given another chance at performing when he was drafted and assigned to Detachment X, an entertainment unit. For 2 years, Knotts toured the Pacific Islands as a ventriloquist, hamming it up for the troops in a morale-boosting show called Stars and Gripes. However, Don was frustrated that his dummy was getting the lion's share of the laughs.
People were laughing more at the dummy than they were at Don, and he just thought that the dummy was taking over his career. While he was on a ship, he threw the dummy overboard, and he said he could actually hear him yelling for help as the ship pulled away from this dummy.
When peace was declared in 1945, Knotts emerged full of self-confidence and hope for a bright future. He enrolled at the University of West Virginia and quickly became the big man on campus, acting in the drama department and enjoying a very busy social life. In his junior year, Don fell head over heels for a beautiful and vivacious sorority girl named Kay Metz.
I thought he was a good person. He was fun, and he was able to talk to me about feelings and things that most young men at that time did not discuss, and that just impressed me.
Don ardently pursued Kay, and the two married on December 27th, 1947. With his wife by his side, Knotts decided to tackle the world of show business once again.
He said, let's go to New York. And I said, great. We didn't have any money, no prospects. So he borrowed $100 from his brother, and so we went.
Kay quickly found a job as a file clerk, and Don wasted no time looking up an old Army buddy, singer Lanny Ross, who generously helped him get an agent at the prestigious William Morris Agency. Knotts could hardly believe his good fortune when he landed his first professional job in radio as old-time cowboy Windy Wales on the Bobby Benson Show.
Down in the Big Bend country roams a fearless golden palomino.
He can't be caught and he can't be broken.
Oh, Windy Wales could capture him.
You could, Windy? How?
Oh, well, sir, I'd dress myself up like a little pony and then coax him to me and then grab him.
Oh, Windman, how you make Palomino think you be pony?
Why, Harka, I'll just sleep out in the rain some night and catch a cold, and the next morning when I wake up, I'll be a little horse.
The radio show became a hit, and when the series was adapted for television, the 29-year-old enthusiastically agreed to reprise his role of Windy Wales. Eager to keep working, he also signed on as a regular in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow. In 1954, the hard-working performer added fatherhood to his resume when his daughter Karen was born on April 2nd. By now, Knotts was juggling 3 jobs and a growing family. Exhausted by the heavy workload, he dropped out of the Bobby Benson TV show. But within months, fate dealt Don a stunning blow. His radio show was canceled, and his character on Search for Tomorrow was written out.
There was a little span there when he didn't have anything, and that was our worst time because we had just had our daughter Karen, and we had just bought a little home in New Jersey. And of course, we were scared.
For months, the unemployed father pounded the pavement looking for work. Finally, he heard about an upcoming Broadway comedy entitled No Time for Sergeants, a humorous look at Army life starring newcomer Andy Griffith. The show was filled with Southern characters, and Don knew he would be perfect in any role. He literally begged the producers to see him and was rewarded with 2 minor parts.